Ooh, that looks tasty.
The yellow team will destroy the red.
The red squad will destroy the yellow. Welcome, folks. The Hungry Gamer is back with another game review. And today we are talking about Tiny Epic Tactics from Gameland Games and designed by Scott Alms. Now, Tiny Epic Tactics is part of the Tiny Epic series, which is epic feeling games in a tiny little box and at a low price point. They actually currently have another one, Tiny Epic Pirates, on Kickstarter right now and should still be up by the time this video posts. Before I get going, please make sure you put on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes, that's where you'll find the corrections. And thank you to Manic Mark for helping out with today's voiceover introduction. So what this game is it is a tactical combat game that utilizes I don't know if you can see because we're straight down, but utilizes terrain that is 3D. And what will happen is each player will have their own force of 4 different heroes, one of each type. You have your beast heroes, you have your rogues, you have your wizards, and you have your fighters. And it comes with a very large deck of various heroes that you are able to choose from. Each one plays a little bit differently. They'll have different movement or different health or different abilities and so on. And there are 3 ways you can play this game. You can play this game solo, co-op, or competitively. Now, before I get into all that, if you are not interested in the basics on how this game is played, you're going to jump ahead to the timestamp that's on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's do a quick rundown of how this game works. I have this set up in the competitive mode right now with only 2 players. You can see we have yellow and red, and you can also see that I only have a single force out here set up. Obviously, another color would have their own 4 characters. If we were playing solo or co-op, I would have cards like this one also out on the solo enemy side, and each player would have their own enemy force that they are dealing with and trying to take on. I'll say the main difference is that in solo and co-op, you're actually entering dungeons, which are on the reverse side of these 3D elements. So when you move and you get to one of the portals there, you actually go inside and you make your way through that little dungeon there. And each of these symbols means something different. I'm not going to go into the details, but that's what you're doing. And as you go through, you are trying to collect these crystals, and each crystal, as you collect it, you gain a bonus of some sort. And if you're able to collect all the crystals before you're killed, then you will win the game. I should say before you're killed or before time runs out. The back of this little capture tracker actually has a timer. And I'm not going to go into any more details than that, but just kind of give you the idea of what it is and what you're looking at. So what's going to happen when you are playing in the competitive mode, you're going to play until one of 2 different things happens. Either one player has all of their units captured, you capture a unit by reducing their health all the way to 0, and then you take their card, and you'll see it's worth 2 points at the end of the game for every opponent that you capture. It is worth noting right now that if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, only the person that does the final hit on the enemy will actually get those points. The other way the game ends is when the 3rd flag is captured, and the same thing with before, only the player that actually advances the flag the last space will get those points. Once that's happened, you simply add up all of your points. Highest points wins the game. So let's talk about how you actually do that. So on your turn, you're going to get a total of 3 actions, and you can never spend more than 2 actions on a single of one of your characters unless you only have 1 left. If you only have 1 left, then you can spend all 3. In addition, you cannot do the same action twice. Again, that rule changes as more and more of your characters get captured. And the option you have is you can do a move, you can cast a spell, you can do a melee attack or a ranged attack. And all the info for that is on your card. So for example, we'll just assume that this is my red army over here. So this guy here, Wilfred, my seal dude, is my beast, which is right here. So I take a look and he can move 4. So I could very simply move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll note you can see there's cities here, and you get bonuses for going into cities. And on these peaks up here, you can actually shoot at anything anywhere on the map if you get all the way up there. And if you are at a higher elevation, you get a bonus to range, and you get a minus to range if you're shooting up at somebody. And then if I wanted to do an attack, I could take a look. Well, I'm not next to anybody, so I can't do a melee attack, but I could do a ranged attack. You'll see there I have a range of 3, and that's going to do 2 damage. So let's talk very quickly about the difference between melee and ranged attacks as far as the dice go. And if you're paying attention, you'll note that this particular character has a special ability that if he is in water, he is able to make a ranged attack. Now, even though he can make a ranged attack, it's a poor example because this is a special ability he has when he's in water. So just to keep it simple, I'm going to move up this rogue here and talk about how she would attack from range. It's the same thing in general, just this guy happens to have a special ability. So you look here, you see, are they in range? The range there is 3, so yes, I'm in range. Then I would spend 1 of my ammo, and then I'm going to get to roll my dice. I take a look there, I see that I have to roll 2 dice, as you see down on the bottom. So I would roll these 2 dice. Then for every arrow that I roll, I'm going to have to spend another ammo. So here we are, and I take my roll. I got no arrows, so I don't have to spend any extra ammo. Then the wizard here would take 2 damage. And again, you would check down here to see if there's any special abilities. Now, then the wizard would have a chance to attack back, do a counter strike, and they can do that if they are in range and they have that ability. Now, the wizard here actually has the ability to attack at a range of 5 and do a fireball, so she could attack back. I'll talk about spells in just a minute. And the same thing is going to happen anytime you do some kind of counter. If someone hits you, if you can hit them back, you get to hit them back. Now let's talk about melee. I'll just go ahead and move my beast right up next to this wizard here. Melee happens pretty much the same way, except you roll the dice and you're looking for those red spaces. So I rolled 3 dice here and I got 1 of those reds. That counts as a knockback. So the wizard would get knocked back 1 space and would be out of range of a melee counter attack. And yes, if you get knocked into something, you will take damage. The next thing is casting spells. And again, casting spells is also very, very simple. It's done pretty much the exact same way that range is done. So I'll put my wizard there, say I'm attacking that fighter there. And in this case, that fighter is Umag there, who has 9 health. And so I take a look at what my attack is. In this case, I have a range of 4, and I'm immediately going to have to spend 1 magic to cast it. However, you'll see it says 1 to 3, so I could spend up to 3 more. So 1, 2, 3. And what's going to happen is, for each one I spent, that's going to allow me to roll a single die. So if I spend 3, I'll get to roll 3. And you'll see what's going to happen here is I'll be doing 2 damage, and then 1 more damage for every blast that I roll. In addition, I'll get to move them around. So I'd be doing 2 damage to Umag there. I roll that, and that's all I did. I did 2 damage, and I didn't move him. Now, let's say I'd rolled 1. I would have done 1 more damage, and I would get to move him to an adjacent space. Again, perhaps taking away the ability to do some kind of a counterattack. And again, it is worth noting that every single character is different in their abilities, what they do, and how they do them. Finally, I'll say that I mentioned you have 2 actions. However, you can only do 1 action without penalty. The penalty you get is if you do 2 actions, you become weakened. All weakened means is the next round, if you go through the entire round without taking any actions, that gets removed. If you want to take an action, you can remove the weakened, but to do that, you will take 2 damage. The last thing we have to talk about is how you capture. Capturing is very simple. You'll notice that there are 3 locations with flags on it, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And all you have to do to start the capture is have a majority of your color on those spaces. So this is the gray, and you'll see that I started capturing, and on my turn, at the start of my turn, I have more than the other, so this would move up by 1. And if you ever get it all the way up to here, you have controlled it, and you take it, it is worth 5 points at the end of the game. And again, a reminder, it does not matter who does all the work, it only matters who captures it. So for example, yellow might get it all the way up to here, and then in the very last minute, red comes in, takes out that beast, and gets their own beast there. Start of their next turn, still like that, they will have captured that flag. And so that's it. That is the basics of the game. Clearly there are a lot more details that go into it and how everything works, but again, This is just to give you a rough idea. So what do I like about this game? First thing is I love how it looks. And I love that it comes out of this teeny tiny little box. This is a sleeve because I'm actually using part of the box right there. In addition to that, I really like these little custom meeples. They're very, very cute. They're fun. I really enjoy them. It makes me kind of wish that more games, more dungeony type games would literally just have kind of screen printed meeples as their characters. It's just very cool. I like that. I like the artwork on these different characters. I like the variety in these tactic cards, and I didn't even mention the tactic cards and the basis of how to play, but these are very simple. You just take a look, and if you've done this, then this thing happens, and you will be drawing them throughout the game. But all these others here, I mean, you can just see the art is fun. They have their own kind of cutesy aesthetic. You kind of get the idea of what some of these are like. And it just really is friendly, but they look cool, they look tough, and there's a whole bunch of different things that you can play there. So I really do enjoy that. I think the gameplay itself is very simple, yet it's challenging because you're, again, like so many of these games, you're kind of managing your resources. What do you want to do? Do you want to risk weakening somebody? Because if you weaken them, they might be out of the fight next round, or you're going to have to hurt yourself. And that 2 health could be what takes you out. Are you going to risk not healing yourself by going to town and just going to stay out and try to get the kill? But of course, then maybe you're reliant on those dice, and maybe that doesn't go the way you want. So all those things, it really is a good little tactical skirmish game. And I do enjoy all of that. I will also say I enjoy the solo mode. I enjoy getting to play your team that you pick, and then you are facing off against an AI deck, and the AI deck does a pretty good job of keeping you on your toes. It is a challenge, and there is no time when you're playing that you're like, oh, well, this is going to be easy, because it's not. I actually find the solo and co-op quite challenging. And along with that, I do kind of enjoy the little maze that these dungeons are underneath all of these 3D. It's very cool as you go inside these things. You're moving around and you're deciding, well, can I deal with that? Well, no, I'm not a rogue. I can't deal with that. Do I want to deal with some kind of monster I have to fight, or would I rather try to go another way around? And so it is a fun little diversion, different way to play. You still get the tactical combat, but it adds, to me, a little bit of story. So I do enjoy that as well. And again, it's always worth saying that it's a small box. It travels easily. It doesn't take up a huge amount of space. Some of the Tiny Epic games actually wind up taking up a decent amount of table space, but this one doesn't take up too much space in the long run, so I appreciate that as well. So what are my quibbles about the game? And I'll start with one of the things that is the other side of the coin to one of the things that I like. I like how the solo mode works. I like these little dungeons and going in and kind of figuring out how all that works. However, these never change. They always have the same crystals in them. You know what crystal is in there, and you know what's going to happen once you get inside. And so as you're playing, some of it starts to become this kind of memorization act as, well, no, when I go inside, I know exactly what I'm going to face. And that is a little bit of a bummer. I will also say that I like the tactic cards. However, often I do find they're very situational. So I find them less tactics and more of a strategy, because if you want to use this, you have to make your way towards being able to use it. And that might be not playing to the strength of your particular characters that you have out there. And so they are less critical to the gameplay than I think I thought they were going to be as I was reading how to play this game the first time. And then the last thing that I'll throw out, and it doesn't particularly bother me, because for the most part, when I play games, as long as I understand how the things are going to work, I can kind of wrap my head around it and go for it. However, it may bother you that there is the, I'm going to call it kill stealing mechanism in this game, because it doesn't matter how much work you do. Another player, if you're playing in like a 3 or 4 player game, can come in and just steal the kill, which takes the points. And now you've wasted your resources in order to get them all the way down just to give to somebody else. And the same thing with the capturing. You can do all the work. Someone comes and just knocks you out at the last minute, and then they're going to take that. And that might rub you the wrong way. And that's it, folks. That is Tiny Epic Tactics. I think if you like tactical combat, kind of skirmish games, and you like the idea of this 3D map, which does add some significant tactical value to the game, then this is one that I think is worth checking out because the price point is just not high. It's a low price point, it's easy to get into, it's pretty quick to play, and it does fill a lot of those holes that people who are looking to play a skirmish game are looking for, kind of that rolling dice and positioning and you managing your resources, using your abilities at the right time. And it does all of that. So it definitely is something to look forward to. I think if you kind of like the idea of just making a party of 4 and kind of running around and playing against the game, and you don't mind that these dungeons are never going to change, then again, I think this is a pretty good option. It does work well playing solo and co-op. And for me, I have played not all of the Tiny Epic series. I've played the Zombies, and I've played Quest, and I've played Defenders. And for me, right now, this one is my favorite of those, though I also do have Mechs on my shelf, which is the next one that I'm getting to test. So I think this is actually one of the better in the Tiny Epic series. I think it's a very solid game. If you like the Tiny Epic series, you're not going to be disappointed in this. If you like skirmish games, just want to look for something light and quick as far as skirmish games go, probably takes about an hour or so, hour and 10 minutes to play the game, then again, it is a good, solid option all around. So there you have it, folks. If I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.